everybody. Welcome to another episode of Wear Many Hats. I'm your host, Mark Robinson. It's great to be here today. We are joined by another titan of the industry, a gentleman named Shane Killeen, who is the Workplace Experience Director for the UK at CBRE. Hello, Shane. How you doing?
Hello, Mark. How are you?
Oh, really good, mate. Really
Thanks
good.
for having me on.
No, that's all right. How's your day been?
Intense, very intense. Busy time of the year.
Intense good or intense bad?
Intense good, I suppose.
Intense
but,
good. Yeah, I suppose.
I have to say that.
You don't seem very sure.
If you asked me a few hours ago, I might have said intense bad. But
Intense
yeah,
bad.
it's turned around. This is a great way to end the day, actually.
You've chilled out now, haven't you? You've
Exactly.
had a coffee.
Yeah.
And you sat here yapping to a northerner. That's always good, isn't it?
What more can you ask for?
Exactly. Okay, well, listen, absolutely great to have you, Shane.
Thank you.
You know, can't wait for this episode. I think we're going to talk about some really interesting things. Obviously, we had some really interesting discussions about innovations before we came in. So we'll probably get onto that at some stage. But why don't we start with you walking us through your career? Because I believe you worked at a very interesting place that some witches and wizards out there may be quite interested in.
Along the way, yeah.
Yeah.
So you can probably tell by the accent I'm definitely from Ireland, from County
Yeah.
Mayo in Ireland. I moved to London in 2009, but I started off in hotels, done my degree in hotels, had the pleasure of working in Germany for a year in hotels, and that's where I learned the difference between Irish timekeeping and German timekeeping, because
Right.
the Germans, when they say on that hour, they mean at that minute, that hour, and
Yeah.
the Irish a bit more laissez-faire with timekeeping. So I learned that. That's one thing I've kept with me my whole career, is being punctual and being on time for things.
Yes.
Done lots of hotel jobs in Ireland, up to conference and events manager, wedding manager.
So you were always kind of in like that people focused role.
Absolutely, always front of house, yeah. And,
Okay.
yeah. So I loved being a wedding manager because you could make each bride feel special. And
Yeah.
my USP was I would never hand over to the ops team. I would come in on the Saturday and meet the bride and groom myself, make sure the room was set up as I promised.
Would you really?
Yeah. So that was a nice handover to make sure that everything that we promised went according to plan.
Right.
And that took off. We had a huge wedding market. That was in Cork in Ireland.
Oh,
Moved to
lovely.
Dublin, became a conference and banqueting manager in a large, very well-known hotel, the Morrison.
Right.
Done a year in Dublin. I said, this isn't for me. And
Why wasn't it for you?
Oh, I loved living in Galway, where I done my studies. I loved
Yeah.
living in Cork, but this Dublin was just. I'm going to be careful now, but it felt like it had the expense of a big city without actually being a big city. And
okay.
I just didn't click with it at all. And
Yeah,
after
yeah.
3 months, I kind of said I want to move out. My best friend had moved to London,
Right.
And he said to me, "Come on over here and give it a chance, see how
Yeah.
you get on." So
Yeah.
I came over for an interview that November, and by
Right.
February I had moved over. So this February will be. I've completed 14 years.
14 years. Hey, that's not bad, is it?
So straight into contract management then in the front of house world, and absolutely loved that. So done some
Yeah.
great iconic buildings in London.
Do you want to name check a few?
Tower 42, 20 Grace Church, the
Wow.
Credit Suisse building in Bank of America, Barclays, which is fantastic.
Yeah, it
but
sounds it.
always front of house, always kind
Yeah.
of floor ambassadors.
Right.
And then I joined the Warner Brothers account. A really good client of mine gave me advice. He goes, "Don't get boxed into front of house,
Yeah.
because you can get siloed into that and you won't progress your career." He said. So he said,
Right.
"Get out and learn more." So that's why I took the job for Warner Brothers,
Yeah.
which was soft services, but it was all like reprographics, telecoms. I'd never done that before. Mail rooms,
Really?
as well as front of house and switchboard.
Yeah.
But this whole new media world, which I'd never touched before, which was
Yeah.
very interesting. Of course, American company, so it gets busy at 5 o'clock in the evening as America.
Well, yeah, America wakes up and
exactly.
yeah,
LA
yeah.
comes online, so conference bookings, celebrities coming in. We had 2 cinemas in the building.
Yeah.
So you had constant flow of people coming to see before the films got released. The celebrities would come and see them.
Yeah.
The critics would come and see them. So a constant flow of important people that had to be kept low key and secure.
So you met a lot of celebrities, I'm guessing?
yeah, really.
Who was
did.
the nicest? Is the one that stands out as the nicest?
I suppose the most exciting was Tom Cruise.
Really?
Yes.
Is he as little as everyone says?
He is. I didn't get to talk to him, but my
Right.
telecoms guy who reported into me did, and I was very disappointed by that.
Right,
I
okay.
was like, I can't talk to him, but
Yeah,
he was siloed off quite quickly into a room, as you can imagine.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
But the nicest person I met was probably Adele. Came in once to watch a film with her family.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So again, she's exactly as you see her on the TV.
There's no difference in her?
No difference
What
whatsoever.
about the worst?
Huh?
What about the worst?
Oh, I know. London's too small still, so I'm not gonna say. I'll tell you after the pub.
Yeah, that's all right. Yeah. I'll share it with listeners on a different episode.
Yeah.
I'll just say it didn't come from Shane. It's all right.
Yeah.
Okay, lovely. And so,
Yeah.
so
Two
Warner
and a half
Brothers
years. Two and a half years. I really loved it, and then I got a call up from a big supplier to say would I come and be a deputy account director
Right.
on an even bigger soft services contract and banking this time. So I went and jumped into.
Well, that's a massive change.
Yeah,
isn't it?
It was
from,
big. And
from entertainment to finance.
yeah,
I mean,
from a
very
team,
different.
Yeah, a team of 15 into a team of about 120.
Wow,
So that in itself was to get your head around that. So I kind of. I went towards the front of house team first of all, my comfort zone, because there was so much to learn in terms of landscaping and a completely different world. I'd never managed cleaning before. I didn't even understand cleaning.
Yeah.
Suddenly to be managing, 60 cleaners, it was just like a completely different world.
That must have been a real period of adjustment for you.
It was so much to take in so quickly. And within 6 months, the account director moved on to another role, and they offered me the account director role.
Right.
And I was thinking, do I really feel ready for this? But the client was fantastic. Actually, one of the few clients I'm still friends with this all these years later.
Oh, really?
Yeah, fantastic client. So she said, I believe in you, Shane. You can do it. We can work on this together, she said. I know you have gaps, but I've been here for years. I'll help you, which was, how many clients do that?
What a thing to hear, though. That's fantastic.
Yeah, and she said, I'll give him my blessing, so you go for it. So we went for it. I had a great boss at the time, and he was very supportive. And it all just kind of came together. There was ups and downs, of course, it was over and back, but I wanted to turn it into a contract of people focus. So it was a very well-run, established contract for many years, but it had become very militant. And I said, I want to change the tone to putting our people first. I turned it into a service excellence, people focused, and that really paid off as our engagement scores went up, our client satisfaction scores went up. The general surveys in the building went up because the people on the ground were giving better feedback generally, because my people were happier on the ground. And then in my final year, it had to go out to tender. These things come around, procurement pushed them out. And I said, we're going to fight it, we're going to win it. We went out and we had, all the big boys after it. And after a year, we retained it. I said, it's time for me to move on. And someone new to now, fresh to come in and lead this. I've done 2.5 years. So, and then
it's quite interesting that you talk about the people piece, because that sounds to me like you were doing that before the rest of the industry.
Well,
because it's a big thing now, but 10 years ago, 10, 11 years, it wasn't really, was it? Let's be honest. I mean, it was there, but not in the same format.
I've always been a people person, and then I always wanted to be a manager. I've learned mistakes by being too soft. So you have to learn this balance of carrot and sticks, how to get things done. But if your baseline is treat people always with respect, and treat them as a human being, then you'll probably get more from them. I found. So I found that would be my approach would be quite successful. And it proved me right every single time. So,
right. But to be fair, you can see the enthusiasm. You really can. It really comes through. So it's great to see that.
Yeah,
it's great to see that.
And then after that, I was approached by CBRE to come and join them. And it was the first time being asked to do a consultancy SME role, which was quite different. And that was interesting to me. So I said, I would happily do that.
So how does that role operate then? Tell us a little bit about that role, that consult. What does that look like?
So basically, we work in the TFM division in CBRE, so we do all the services. And we have numerous accounts all across the UK that run different services, and we go around and my team. I say it my team, Christine, we're a team of two. We go around and we try to instill the excellence into the contract managers who are delivering those services day by day. Because you might have had an engineer that's worked his way up to being a contract manager. He absolutely understands the building. He understands the HVAC. He understands temperature controls. But he doesn't get the user experience. Why is it important to have the doors clean? Why is it important to have no leaves in reception? So all those things are important about the experience moments.
The little things that you don't necessarily think about.
And why do we walk the floors every day before people come in? Why do the blinds all have to be even? Why are the meeting rooms clean? And why are we talking to people on the floor trying to get them to use the building in a different way? Say, actually, Jenny, don't use that meeting room because it's for 15 people. Use a focus room because it's built for one person. It's less energy usage. So when you build those relationships, you can really actually curate the experience around that building.
That's fantastic. And how long have you been in that role now?
Well, I've been with CBRE now for 4 years, but I jumped back into an operational role last year as an account director. I got to pick up the hard services world, which is a completely different world from the soft services.
Yeah, it is. How did you find that? It's a bit like dark magic, isn't it?
I just like a sponge. I wanted to take it all in. I always wanted to learn it, and always felt I don't have that engineering brain whatsoever. But I was fascinated by how much detail they go into, and what I found was engineers need as much love as front of house people do. When you sit down with engineers and people who are night shifts who don't usually see the directors or managers and say, tell me about your world, what can I do?
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, you're just another guy in a suit. No, nothing's going to happen. I thought, I promise you things are going to happen around here. And I do a session called BMW, and it stands for bitching, moaning and whining. So I said, get it off you. What makes you actually want to leave the role? Put that under the B category.
Yeah.
And then the moaning is things that annoy you day by day, and whinging is little things you want to get off your chest, and when it's off your chest, it's gone.
Yeah.
And then I would actually take that away and play it back either to the client or the account manager.
Yeah.
And then try to make active changes. And we've had clients, we played it back to, and they go, actually, this is fantastic. I support that change, for example. And when you play it back and say, we've heard you, and actually we're going to change this, that is so motivating for those people.
Yeah. So did you come up with BMW?
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah.
I really like that. Write that down.
Well, I was told you can't use that in front of clients and pitches, and I use it every time.
Yeah.
I read the room, not every time, but most times, and I throw it out there, and they laugh every single time.
Well, we're all people, aren't we?
Yeah,
Let's be
exactly,
honest, you know what I
exactly.
mean? And if you're in a room full of adults, they've all heard that.
Yeah,
And
I think people find that they like someone to be authentic and passionate about
I
something.
agree,
and
yeah.
rather than rolling off a pre-learned script, what they want to hear. If you're authentic in a room, and sometimes I really care about your experience, I really care about your people, I want to get to know them.
Yeah.
That clients will latch onto that every time.
Oh, brilliant. Okay. So as Workplace Experience Director, you're covering the whole of the UK at the moment. Are you trying to, because obviously London, I think, or as a whole, is being viewed to be quite insular, and there's a different level of service that's received here. I don't know if that's are you trying to replicate that everywhere?
Yeah, what clients are asking for in this post-COVID world is what we call hotelification. They want the best of the hotel world brought into the corporate world.
Yeah.
So when I was in Warner Brothers, it was a very siloed delivery. You had receptionists, you had mailroom, you had reprographics. I broke those walls down and cross-trained everyone.
Yeah, so multi-skilled.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so able to make efficiencies for the client. And as the post rooms, as we know, the active mail coming in is dropping every single year.
Yeah.
Switchboard calls are dropping every single year. People have changed the way they work, and Teams and Zoom has transformed all that. So it's getting the team upskilled and trained. So now they're hosts, they can walk into a room, they understand the technology, they can connect the screens. Yeah. It's all about a home away from home. As the guests come in, is try to make them feel as comfortable as possible, or give them a reason to come into the office. As Mark Bell said last time, is give them a reason to make that commute.
Exactly.
How do we get them from the house to make that commitment to come into the office?
Because everybody got used to not doing it.
Exactly.
And thought to themselves, this is all right.
Exactly.
You're not having to do that an hour and a half on a train.
Yeah.
Squeezed up to someone's armpit. It's all right.
Especially in summertime.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, very much so. Very much so. Okay, so I mean, obviously, you weren't really inspired to pursue a career in facilities management per se.
No.
But what has made you continue your career within facilities management and not move back to something, say, hotels? Or why have you pursued that? Why have you continued?
Hotels are very family oriented. It's almost like we're all in this together. So you do the long weekends, you do the long shifts, you have the Friday, Saturday when everyone else is having a good time, you're working. Yeah. But you have that kind of Sunday night going out and get very drunk when everyone else is at work, or Monday night.
Yeah.
And what I find is from people that have moved from hotels into the corporate world, find it a bit lonely at times, because you don't normally have that connection of we're in it together. The corporate world is usually Monday to Friday. You go home to your family, home to your friends. Yeah. It's a bit more. So I think there's time to adjust to it. Yeah. But I would recommend anyone to go into a hotel. What I learned in hotels was fantastic. I wouldn't personally go back now. I'm a bit older.
I think it is more of a younger person's. Yeah. Not that there aren't roles for people that are of our inclination and age. But it is more of a younger sort of. It kind of always has been, hasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, a duty manager hotel, I don't think you can do duty manager more than 2 or 3 years, because it's active. It's a huge part of hotel life. But you burn out. You're dealing with complaints. You're a jack of all trades, master of none. So you're behind the bar pulling pints. You're down serving eggs. You're up checking out. That's fantastic to get all those skills.
Yeah, of course.
And they're very transferable into our FM world. But that pace of work can be quite
difficult.
Yeah, exactly.
I've worked in a hotel. I remember I used to wash pots when I was about 13. That was probably the hardest job I've ever had.
I can imagine.
Just stood at a sink for like 10 hours. It was hard work.
Big pots.
Yeah, big pots. And I was only little as well, Shane. I've grown about 4 inches since. I can reach over the sink now.
Exactly.
Okay, so look, that's absolutely fantastic, and it's great to see that you're working in a specific environment within facilities management. How do you think, that workplace experience element is going to evolve over the next let's say 3 to 5 years? Because I know there's different, but what do you think is going to come into it? How's it going to change?
It's moved so quickly. If you think of before COVID, it was kind of something in the background. People didn't take it serious almost. And then we had the COVID, then we had return to the office. Suddenly then, that's when I joined CBRE. It became, well, every client wants to talk to you now.
Yeah.
And then what do we want the office to look like? And then actually we have all these desks that no one's sitting at. Let's change the space around.
Yeah.
I said, let's not just jump into what everyone else is doing. What do your people want from this building? So do your survey, do a focus group and ask them what do they want. And generally it was more creative experience. They want more collaboration spaces. So when they do come to the office, they want to work together. I went to a media company of a very famous app, and I won't name the app. It's very, very famous.
Right.
We
tell us in pub after.
We won the contract there, and there's all these desks empty. But there's this big, massive pool of people all together, all very young workforce. Like you're talking 18 to 22, all huddled together. I said, what are they doing? They're all on this big couch and chairs. They don't want to sit at desks. They want to physically be close to one another. So they're actually working on a project together, and they're all sitting in this circle. I was thinking we have to get ready for this next generation, because they don't want the pedestal and the table and the plant and the foot. They actually want to work in a different way.
They do.
And we have to get ready for that, because I do a lot of work with clients who are like, Shane, in 4 years, 70% of our workforce is going to be Gen Z millennials.
Yes.
So we think by giving them goat milk and having vegan 1 day a week, it's going to keep them happy. It's not. They're going to be the majority of the workforce. What are we going to have to do to get ready for that?
Yeah.
And it's playing that out with the client. Well, what does that look like in your long-term strategy? Because it wasn't always at the board table. Now the board is saying, what can we do to get ready for this? To get people back into the office, using the space wisely and having this well-being, inclusivity. We have to look at all these different kind of disabilities. It isn't just someone who has a physical disability now. We're looking at people that have hidden disabilities, and how do we make the workplace inclusive for them as well?
Yeah. No, I completely agree. I mean, just it's a really interesting one, isn't it? Because, how do businesses have the foresight to get that right? Because there's so many different facets to it. The workplace 30 years ago used to be simple, didn't it? Compared to now.
Yeah.
Now it's, a million miles an hour, 10,000 different ways of doing things and things like that. It's a really interesting time, I think, for landlords and, workplace experience directors such as yourselves. So where do you see technology and things like AI and things like that fitting into that world?
I keep hearing it every second, it's AI. And I don't know that much about it. I don't know what I don't know. And I'm trying to educate myself and learn myself about it. What I think is it's going to take over. It's going to transform the workplace. And I can probably compare it to the iPhone coming to the market in 2008. We were all using our Blackberries, which we loved back then, or our Nokia phones, whatever it was. Yeah. And then Apple came along and completely changed the way we worked and said, here's our smartphone. You're going to have applications and you're going to have this. And I don't have an Oyster card anymore. I don't have a Nectar card. I don't even my flight tickets are on my phone.
Yeah,
they completely transformed the way we work, and that's what AI is going to bring. Give it 5-10 years. It'll be completely different to the way we're working now. It can be scary for some people to get on board. Yeah, I'm definitely having more meetings about it and trying to understand it and see how can we bring it into workplace. And more companies are getting in contact with us. Yeah, I had an experience recently where a friend of mine was working on a large project, and he goes, "Do you want to see the project I'm working on?" Yeah, and I put on this massive headset and I was transformed into a resort in the Caribbean that they were working on. He's an architect, and it felt so real. There was butterflies flying around. I could hear the sea. It was completely immersive. Yeah. And I was just thinking, how could that translate back to the FM world? Can we show the client their building? Can we show them what a fit out could look like, or what clean could look like? Yeah. There's so many different possibilities. So it's very exciting. Yeah. I feel if you don't get on board with it, you're going to be left behind pretty quickly.
I think so as well. I can't wait to see what the world looks like in 10 years' time.
But I always think there'll be a human touch somewhere in there. How many times have you spoken to an Autobot or someone, an automated machine, and you scream at it? Yeah, just give me a human to speak to. And I really do believe in the Marriott, they have this digitized process for business people. They can walk into the hotel, their key's actually on their phone, programmed in already. Yeah. They've got no reason to come near anybody, but they ask them just to come to the desk so they can welcome them. So they put in a human moment in that whole digital process. Yeah. They make them come to the desk, they ask them for the card, they verify it, and they go, "Welcome back, Mr. Killeen," for example. Yeah. They inserted a human moment into a completely digitized process. Yeah. And that's why I think the future, it needs to have, we want to have authentic humans looking after us.
I think you make a really interesting point there, because I think that if we don't build that human experience into it, we're going to have significant issues from a mental health perspective across the entire population.
Absolutely.
Because all it's going to do is there are people that need that human interaction. However, they're quite introverted.
Yeah.
And if they can avoid it, they will.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, but you still need it. Whether you're introverted, extroverted, whatever,
Yeah.
you need that interaction.
Absolutely.
So I think that in the future, if we don't, build those human moments in, make sure that those connections are continuing to be made, we'll have a significant issue.
Yeah.
Because we are seeing that now with the kids today in terms of, how they are with
Since
their
COVID.
smartphones and things like that. We're seeing that they're kind of moving away from that. I force my kids. I'm like, get out of the house.
Yeah.
Give me that phone. Go play football. Go break a window. I don't care. Just do something.
The magic triangle would be is if you can get the IoT of things, to get that talking to the AI and getting that making decisions that humans don't need to make anymore. So like heat control, those mundane things like flushing taps or checking temperatures that we can get our engineers upskilled to do for other things. So it's not about replacing humans. It's just like taking out the mundane tasks and getting them to do reskilling them to do other jobs.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? One of our guests said something very, very interesting, that technology doesn't displace the human being. It just moves human beings into a different area to do something different. And I think that was a very pertinent point. And I do think that that's how it will transpire.
Yeah.
Well, I hope so anyway. Yeah. I'm kind of hoping nobody can do my job because this one will get rid of me. You know what I mean? People are like, I'm going to save some money. Okay, brilliant. So, look, let's move on to environmental, social, and governance, because I think that I think there's two hot topics in the world at the minute: AI and probably ESG. How do you think ESG is going to impact the industry on the whole over the coming years?
Like we said before, it's come from the board down now. So I've seen in CBRE, we've gone from having a few ESG experts to over nearly 100 ESG experts.
Yeah.
And what I learned was in the environmental space was my small involvement in that world was when it came to waste management, it's something I'm passionate about. So we were looking at where the journey of the waste, where it's going to. Yeah. So zero to landfill, what you expect our conversion to energy. And then people start looking at recycling. I think we're doing a great job. And I was thinking, well, actually, no, we're doing a great job because there's less people in the building. That's why the waste has come down. Yeah. Let's actually measure it for every full-time employee that actually is in the building. And then let's stop looking at recycling, look at reduce and reuse.
Yes.
It's a much more powerful way of actually tackling the waste. So try to stop it coming to site in the first place, or getting it back to the suppliers so they can reuse it. Yeah. And don't just think about putting what's going through your waste stream. Yeah. That was very, very powerful doing that. But I'm more on the social side, as you can probably imagine. Yeah. So I was brought kicking and screaming into the social enterprise world because a client really wanted to do it, and I had my procurement lines all set up, and then she's like, let's try this, let's try that. I was like, okay. But what happened was I really opened my eyes that companies can really make a social change. So by reaching out to the community. So we started doing workshops with disadvantaged young people, and they came in to do interviews, and they were so shy or they were so nervous just to do a simple mock interview. But it really, really helped them, giving them access to mentors and networks and getting them out there in the world. And then using social enterprise companies, social enterprise cleaning companies, social enterprise security companies that actually are non-profit sometimes. They give back money. Absolutely fantastic. We should support wherever we can. Yeah. That's become really, really big. Right. And clients sometimes have targets now towards that. So our model in CBRE works so well because we can say, we're going to self-deliver your engineering and your front of house where we specialize in, but we're going to outsource the other elements that we don't specialize in, but we'll bring in the best experts that meet your needs, whether it's cleaning, security, or catering, for example. Right. That's why it's a very powerful model, and it works very well for us.
Right. Okay. Fantastic. So, are there any, with regards to the social aspect, I always think that's really complex, to be honest with you, because I think across the industry we all bandy about certain things. Yeah. We do X, we do Y. We've built a playground, we've done this. How do we make real differences from a social perspective, in your view?
It's using the power of the spend and influence we have by opening doors. So I know clients, some clients are actually using their space at weekends to open it for homeless shelters. So they're using the food left over rather than going to waste to recycle it into proper meals. Fantastic. And letting them use that space. That's a huge difference. Yeah. Or mandating that you take people from a certain background and give them access. Give them access to your building, because back in the day you'd have people come in. Who do you know? You get the job, and,
Yeah.
and try to make those days go away and say, actually, we're going to look at the community, the outreach that we can do and look after people. There's some waste companies now that transfer waste over to Africa. I mean, buildings are closing down, desks and chairs are no longer needed. They transfer back to Africa, and you get to see it. Actually, the children so excited to have these new desks and chairs.
Yeah.
You know, when you see it, when you make it real, that's what the real impact is for it.
Yeah, that's really, really true. I'd like to see a big move towards young people. I'd like to see business supporting young people. You know, since 2008, they haven't really had youth clubs to go to.
Yeah.
You know, there's repercussions associated with that, which we see on the news probably every day. So I'd really like to see some kind of you know, I wouldn't even call it a support network, just some kind of avenue for the youth to be able to express themselves appropriately.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just about building playgrounds, is it? You know, I mean, there's loads of people doing brilliant things out there, like boxing social clubs and, you know, local communities creating their own social enterprises for young people. But I think we could definitely do more for young
I agree.
people.
Or even giving our own time up to mentor those people or offer our time to them to say, look, I can put you in contact with this person, or I can, you know, the FM world, we learn a lot quite quickly. And I wish I had a mentor earlier on before. I took me in my 30s before I got one. But having someone that can just have this kind of like a big brother approach, what to think of this, no judgment. If you fall on your bum, to say, don't worry, get back up and get on with this. You know, no regrets. That would be fantastic to have. And I think the younger generation almost need that.
I think so as well. They have those kind of schemes in the US, don't they? Those big brother schemes.
Yeah, they do.
I don't think I've seen them in the UK. Have you seen them?
No, I don't.
I don't think
I haven't.
I wonder if it'd work over here.
I think it would.
Do you reckon?
Anything that can help or give them time and get them away from their phones or their video games.
Yeah.
And get them, you know, they have a contribution to make to society, and that's where if we can get that through to them, then
without a doubt, of course they do. So, like, you know, sticking with sort of young people and mentoring. Obviously, you mentioned that you had a mentor in your 30s. You know, who was that individual, and how did that individual support you?
It was Greg Daniels was his name. So he was another Irish man, but he was much higher in the business than I was.
Yeah,
and going out to tender at that time, actually, it's a very nerve-wracking moment to think I could lose this contract. So he was absolutely say, "You are the account director. You must absolutely believe you're going to win this contract."
Yeah.
When you walk into your people and tell them we're going to win this, we have to do we do a great job day in, day out. So everything that we've done so far is going to keep the contract, but you have to go through this process because you have to fundamentally believe it. And I went back and had the exact same town hall with all the large team that we had. And I said, "Look, we're going through this process," and by having that someone who's been through that before. And able to support and guide you was absolutely fantastic. And I had to go through it a second time, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I went last year and I went back to do another contract. It was out to tender. Very secure contract, long relationship.
Yeah.
But again, these things have to go to market every so often.
Of course they do,
The client has a right to benchmark and make sure they're getting value for money. I went back to being a contractor again. It was much easier second time round.
Yeah.
Because I was like, okay, I know what to do here. So, I came in, I had the exact same town hall and said, we're going to win this. Because of the work you do every single day, we're fine. We just might need to change the way we're working, refresh things up a little bit because sometimes things get a bit stale or stagnant.
Yeah,
a bit of a refresh.
Bring
in the solutions team, have a fresh look at it. What are other clients doing?
Yeah,
and we retained it and we're able to move on.
Well, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
It's always good news. Okay, so you know, what are some of the challenges that you think the industry is facing at the moment today?
I'm not going to say the B word.
No, don't say that.
Don't say the B word. But I definitely see it because when I came to London, there was definitely a cycle of people came to London. If they didn't have the language, they would go into coffee shops or into hotels. They'd learn the language. They get the confidence to come out. They'd come into my front of house world, and we would upskill. And that was like this constant cycle. They were always there. And as people were moving on, like, Shane, I can recommend this person. There was this constant cycle. That stopped. It's really dried up. And
has it really?
Yeah, I really think the gap in people that we have, our supply partners are struggling in the cleaning world to fill vacancies, and we're very big at promoting internally in CBRE. It's one of our selling points, but you need fresh blood coming in too behind it.
That's true.
So So you need that constant flow of talent and try to attract people to the FM world, keep them in the FM world, and promote them. But you need that kind of, as I said, that journey, people coming behind them to keep it all refreshed.
Does that go back to something we were talking about earlier in terms of the youth? You know, is there something that we can do from an educational perspective? You know, is there workshops? Can we go into schools? Can we do things like that? You know, is there ways that we can bring, because look, there's lots of people out there that, either don't have roles or, you know, 'cause, I'm just spitballing here, Shane. I'm asking you to answer because I'm nowhere near as capable as you are.
No, I don't know if I have the answer to that. But if we can go out and reach out to the youth and get them into these roles and get them started their careers in FM at an early age, why not? I mean, what better way to learn to manage clean than to learn it yourself from the ground up, or landscaping or security, whatever your path you take.
Yeah,
I totally agree with that. But the challenge is there. The challenge is real. Look, the real living wage went up again this week.
Yeah, it did £13.15. Good to see.
Fantastic to see. So we need to get that filtered through to our clients. That we need to have this put through for our people. The difference between the supervisors and the team leaders, they need to keep going up.
You've got to get that differential. It's got to stay the same.
Absolutely.
Why are they getting £1.20? That's not fair.
Yeah. So when the clients are on board with it, absolutely fantastic. It can be worked like magic.
Yeah.
And that's the challenge in the front of house world is they're getting closer and closer to it. The front of house used to have this kind of salary difference because of language skills. The cleaning world's coming fast and furious behind it.
Yes, it is.
And you might get people thinking I'm better off being a cleaner and doing that role and then being on the front of house. So
yeah. Well, hopefully, that'd be quite good. Okay, so you know, in terms of the industry, how do you stay informed about, you know, new developments and trends? You know, what do you do? I know that you called me into a meeting 2 years ago to pick my brain. Not that you picked it for very long. But go on.
We get a lot of content sent to us. I work for a global company, so a lot of great content gets sent to us. And I always find you can read that and take it on board, but you can't be a single source of information. You must do your own research. So I'm allowed to. I read the Financial Times every day. It's our company allows us to actually subscribe to that, which is great.
Wow!
So reading that is fantastic. I read my own books. I was at a hotel conference last week for boutique hotels because I want to see what they're doing.
Yeah,
and I read as many books as I can. I'm not a natural reader, but I force myself to read.
Right.
And I find reading books is a great way of getting information and inspiration.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic. I'm a terrible. I don't read. I used to, but I need to get back into it.
I know, but I just find it keeps my brain active, or it keeps me. We were talking about sleeping on trains and planes. If I don't read, I fall asleep instantly. So at least reading buys me some time.
The thing is, though, I spend my life reading tenders and things like that, so I kind of read all day long. So when I get like I'm like, no, just stick a telly on. You know? Do you know what I mean? I watch some wrestling or something mundane that I don't have to think about. You know.
But if you get a good book, you can't put down. That's very exciting.
Yeah. But to be fair, the last book that I read, and I'm really embarrassed to say this, but it's true, was Harry Potter. and I think that I read that about 35 as well, to be fair.
Nice.
It's really, really good. Okay, so just going back to mentoring.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you mentor anybody at the minute?
I do.
You do? And how do you structure that? What's your way of developing that?
I let them lead it. So what do you want from this? So I've been mentoring her for over a year now, so it's much more comfortable. At first, it was very fun with there's a mentoring program, and I read the notes and she read the notes, and after one or two sessions, it was very stiff. I said, look, what are you getting value from this? And she's like, yeah. What I find is if I put a date in the diary, I stick to it. Nothing worse than someone moving a date around. Yeah. When I'm with the mentoree, I give them my absolute attention. I never look at my phone. I never check emails. They have my full attention. Yeah. If we do it on Zoom, I make sure there's no noise around me. So I give them. I respect the time that I have with them. Yeah. Because they put that time in their diary. And, right. And only for a client or a major reason when I move that, which they would understand. Mm. It's not about me telling my life stories. That this is what I've learned. It's like what are you going through right now? And I give them different scenarios. Saying, well, if we go down route A, how would that play out? If we go down route B, making them think themselves rather than saying, well, in my experience, this is what's going to happen. Yeah. And sometimes the mentoree can be talking, and she's going to say, and you know it's the wrong thing to do, and then your instinct is to say, oh no, you're going to fail, but you have to let them fail almost sometimes and say, so okay, let's say how that plays out for you, and let me know how that goes. Yeah. And they come on and say, oh my gosh, you wanted to do that. So what happened? And he said, okay, so what have we learned from that failure? And I'm a big thing on positive thinking. Yeah, great. The glasses I have always have full. Same. I designed a program called the Mindset of Excellence, which is a program that we train all of our people on. Right. And it's all about looking at. So we've been called once bitten, twice shy, 3 wants to make me cry. And basically, if the same issue gets raised 3 times, it then gets an in-depth look from a manager. So I think a printer gets broken down, and we do a first line fix. It breaks down again, a first line fix, and then it happens a third time. Third time it gets flagged. Yeah. This printer's now broken 3 times. We're going to have a fourth. Let's stop this in its tracks.
What's the issue?
Take the domino out now before this gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Yeah. And that can be for a heating issue. It can be so it gets like a root cause. What's going on here, basically? Yeah. And that fixes so many future tickets. You won't believe how powerful that is. So when I go onto sites and I say, show me your reactive tickets, and they're like, trying to find the folder and trying to find it. I said, how often do you analyze it? So, well, we put it in the month. I said, how often do you analyze it? Do you actually go through it and understand it? Because this is the story of the building. The building's talking to you through the tickets and it's telling you what's working and what's not working. And if you don't read the story...
I love that analogy. I love that.
If you don't read the story, you won't know what's going on. So you can walk around all you want and you can read reports and you can read... But if you don't listen to the building... then you won't know what's going on.
The building is talking to you. I like that. I like that, Shane. That's absolutely fantastic. Okay, brilliant. Quite an interesting approach to mentoring then. So
let them lead what they want, and let them fail. I mean, if a client's involved, you won't let them fail. But if it's something where they have to learn a lesson from that, like for example, if you're managing someone, which I learned when I was younger, and they're being too nice to them, and they're taking the mickey out of them as a manager, I'm not going to say turn harsh or throw the rule book at them and say, well, how do you want to play that out? Goes, okay, I'm going to bring them all out for coffee and a pizza. That's a great idea. Go do it. Back, they're still taking the mickey out of me. So, okay, we've tried that now. Let's try something different. Don't say, oh, you should have done that. Let them learn from their mistakes. They're as powerful as the good times when you fall down. Getting back up is in the F word. We fall down a lot, no?
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, Shane, I kind of want to be mentored by you, mate. You know what I mean? I'm a rough diamond, but there's definitely talent there. Okay, so listen, let's go into something a little bit different. What particular lesson have you learned from a very difficult process that you've been involved in? Is there? Do you have any examples or something that stands out?
I suppose the most difficult time in my FM was going to an employment tribunal over 10 years ago. And we'd done everything right, but the person felt aggrieved and they put it through the process and they got it to a tribunal. And I had to go to a full court and be cross-examined. We had to and the company backed me 100% because they said, you've done nothing wrong here. We have the paperwork. We're content how it was handled because to get to a tribunal, you have to go through the different grievances anyway.
Yeah, you do. Of course
it's not an easy thing to get to. So we went through all that. It was a client removed from site for legitimate reasons, but the person didn't feel that way. So they wanted to have their day in court and they got their day in court. So we went, it was 4 days of watching my MDs being cross-examined, and it was very difficult to watch thinking, God, I was the manager of all this and you have to get cross-examined yourself. But as my barrister said at the time, he goes, you just have to remember the truth and you need to tell your story. And they have to tell the truth and their version of that. And that's very hard to do when you're being cross-examined. And he goes, it's my job to bring the truth out and I'm going to do it. And he absolutely did it.
Did he?
And we won the case completely.
Right.
Which at the time I was very satisfied over. I got my victory. And the MD
you felt
said,
justified.
But the MD said, there's no victory here for us, Shane. She goes, we end up in tribunal. She goes, we won, we came our case, we've cleared our name. She goes, but there's no victory here for us either. And that was a really powerful lesson I learned from that MD.
That makes sense, actually. Yeah. It should never get to that point.
Yeah, and she's the one that said, I said, taking the domino out. She's the one that said to me, where can we take that domino out sooner to stop this getting here? And that was the lesson learned from that. And also having your paperwork, make sure you do your one-to-ones, make sure you do your appraisals, do your site visits. Because if it's not there, it's not there.
Oh, okay, cool. And similarly, is there anything that you're particularly proud of during your career?
I can think of a few moments. I think it might be a strange one, but when I was in the front of house world, I had a lot of females working for me. And they were of that age where they went off to have a baby. And almost 92%, if I remember correctly, came back to work afterwards. Some came back full-time, some came back part-time, some came back for 1 hour lunch cover.
That's a high statistic,
we had the culture of wanting those people to come back to work if they wanted to come back to work. And we when they told us they were pregnant, we celebrated it with them. And we made sure that the appointments were not a hindrance. We made sure that the appointments were held. We had the cover in place. We encouraged them to go to their appointments. We encouraged them to work from home as they got later in their pregnancy. Don't come in. We got them maternity work. We really wanted to look after them. They had their babies, and then when their time was, do you want to come back? Great. Shit, I can't come back full time. Don't you worry. We have these 4 other options. What works for your new world now?
Flexible working.
If you look at that, before flexible working was a thing to do.
So another time where you've innovated and brought in something before it was even.
But that's just treating them like human beings, basically. And they really appreciate that, and they want to show that loyalty back to you. And I guarantee there's no more determined person than a return to work mother because they love getting out of the house. They love and if you give them that time to look out to drop their baby off to school and pick them up and they come to work, they'll do anything for you. And
Oh, that's lovely. That's
when people ask me that question, that's what I always think of that because there's so many other great achievements. But
Yeah.
Tinder wins can come, they're great. But
Yeah.
you think of the human element, that's what means more to me. That, and now they've grown up, those kids, and they're still sending me photographs on Facebook saying, "Look, he's 12 years old now." I go, Jesus
Really?
Christ! I remember when he was born. And time goes so fast.
Oh, it does. God, yeah. You're talking to a father of three. I know that more than most. And so does the wallet. Before you get to turn off now. Okay, so any regrets?
No, I said before, I'm glass half full. So I genuinely believe in that. So this mindset of when I was the account director in the finance world, I never let the team say, I have a problem.
Yeah.
A, because I sat right beside the client, and B, it was, can I update you on something? And they had to give a solution. So they come and say, it might even be a ridder. Someone might have slipped and broke a leg. As long as the person's been, so they come and say, can I update you on something? We have a serious situation with the cleaner. I say, well, what's happening? Ambulance has been called. Yeah. Fine. So everyone knew what their part in that was. The most important thing was the person who's injured. We have to go help them. Yeah. So that having that in place, if you allow yourself to get into, I have a problem, your mind says, we're in trouble, we've done something bad, then that whole, you as a leader are panicking. You must stay above that. Yeah. So as the manager came and said, what are we doing about it? Are we okay? Are we on top of things? I'll update the client. Let's get the person into hospital. Let's follow them there. Let's make sure they're looked after. Let's get them an ambulance or a car home afterwards. All that. But if you the word problem, I don't even allow negative words. Yeah. So regrets, I don't accept regrets. I don't accept problems. It's just lessons learned and what you learned from them.
PMA, positive mental attitude. Yeah. That's what I like to hear. It's what I like to hear. All right, I'm going to throw you a curveball here. I'm going to ask you a question I've not asked anybody else. But I think you can handle it, Shane, to be fair. So, we've talked about the last 14 years. Yeah. What does the next 10 years look like for Shane Killeen in terms of his career? What do you want to achieve? Where do you want to get to?
I always want to be a man growing up. I want to be the guy in the suit telling people what to do and looking after, making decisions, basically. Yeah. Been there. I've always been very hungry to more and more and more. And when I got the job into a good place, you think, let me just sit here now and enjoy. But no, I pushed myself further into more, get out of my comfort zone. Yeah. And now I'm in a situation where I used to be very nervous presenting to people. If I knew everyone in the room I could present fine, and my humor would come out. But put me in front of strangers, even 3 or 4, I would fall apart instantly. You could hear the voice quivering, the mouth going dry, trying to get the water. And I pushed myself out of my comfort zone to get, and I can talk in front of 300 or 400 people now, and not get nervous at all. Oh, brilliant! I'm probably at a place where I don't want to go any higher in my career. I'm 34 in the mirror, 43. If you look at it reverse, I'm really 43. I convinced myself I'm 34.
No, I'm 34 as well. Yeah.
And I think because of COVID, I'm at an age now where your parents are getting older, so spending more time in Ireland, I can work from home there. I have a fantastic boss that lets me do that, so I can work. Oh, lovely! So I'll be able to go to Ireland, work from home, and spend time with the family, because the kids grow up, the nieces grow up so quick, and the nephews. Yeah, of course they do. So that's important to. I love my work. I give it 100%, but when I'm not at work, I don't even think about it. That's why I like. Really? Yeah.
Oh man, I wish I had that door in my brain. I don't have that door in my brain. I'm always, a million miles an hour. Kids,
you need to meditate every morning for 10 minutes. Completely clear your mind of all thought. Yeah.
No, I'd start thinking about something stupid like Scooby Doo. so I had ADHD before it was diagnosed as ADHD.
Oh, okay,
My brain's like a million miles an hour. The only time I can truly shut off is if I am just watching something inane on the television, which sounds really, really silly, but like just the stupidest programs, I'll just sit there and I'll be like, I'm not thinking of anything. But then I think to myself, I'm not thinking of anything. And the next thing I know, I'm thinking about loads of stuff.
You can't win.
I can't win. Okay, brilliant. So obviously you've talked about the family, but outside of work, I think we've got a really clear picture that, your enthusiasm for people, the industry and so on. So that's great. What gives you the greatest enjoyment outside of work?
Probably my friend's dog, and I even have a photograph of it on my phone. And people go, "Oh, I love your dog." Go, actually, it's not my dog, but his name is Louis. He's the most beautiful Labrador ever.
Oh, I've got a Labrador.
Yeah, then you get it.
I get it. Yeah, 100%.
And any time I can spend with him, even when my friend is not there, like, I've got keys to the house. I'm letting myself in. I want to see the dog. And then I come see you this weekend, Eugene. He's like, "You're coming to the dog show. We know that now. We've learned that it's all about the dog." Yeah. So the dog, getting home to see my nieces and nephews, trying to stay fit. And I put that in inverted commas because I'm a big guy, but
I'm the same. I'm the same.
Yeah, I'm trying to get more active. I mean, I do like 13,000, 14,000 steps a day. I'm always on moving around. Most of my time is traveling up and down the UK. I'm not really office based, so I get the steps in. But outside of that, I try to play tennis and I really meditate every morning. That was given to me by my friend.
How long do you meditate for?
Just 10 minutes.
It's just a case you just sit there and.
I get up, I shower, I have my coffee, so I'm awake.
Yeah.
If I lie down straight away, I just fall asleep again.
Yeah.
And I just play some kind of calming music.
Really?
And you need to learn how to do it because it's very hard to clear your head.
Yeah.
But when you do it, just for 10 minutes, I set an alarm, I come back into the real world.
And it works?
Yeah. And when problems occur, it just gives you more control over your mind.
Really?
It really, really does.
Oh, I might have to try that then.
Yeah, highly recommended.
Yeah, okay. All right. Well, listen, that's the end of another Wear Many Hats podcast. How did you find that, Shane?
I went so quick in the end. Jesus,
I know.
yeah.
I know, Mercy. That's what happens. You start yapping and away you go. You know.
And I didn't curse once. I'm very proud of myself.
Well, you did say bitching.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah. You can get away with that. Yeah. It was in an anagram, BMW. You know what I mean? So
well, everyone thinks it's BMW for the cars. And when you throw bitching moaning wine at them, it just catches them off guard.
Like I said, nicking it. I like it.
Steve McBride.
Shane, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much for taking the time to come and chat to us. I'm sure the listeners are going to find this a very interesting episode.
Hopefully.
If anybody wants to reach out to Shane or anything like that, then feel free to. Over LinkedIn.
Please. Yeah, please.
Or via the podcast. We'll happily put you in touch if you're looking for somebody who's got the kind of experience in workplace services.
Happy to help.
But that's the end of another episode, guys.
Thank you much.
We will see you all again soon.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.